Welcome to today's discussion about the Reserve Bank of India's latest directions for urban cooperative banks, UCBs, concerning the cash reserve ratio, CRR, and statutory liquidity ratio, SLR. These directions, effective immediately, ensure that UCBs adhere to prescribed liquidity requirements, contributing to financial stability. They apply specifically to urban cooperative banks as defined under the Banking Regulation Act 1949. This set of guidelines outlines the mandatory reserves banks must maintain, helping to regulate the country's monetary stability. Let's dive into the preliminary provisions of these directions. The regulations apply to urban cooperative banks or UCBs. These institutions must adhere to maintaining their cash reserves and liquid assets under strict guidelines. For accurate compliance, UCBs are required to report these reserves through specified forms to the Reserve Bank of India, RBI. In this section, key definitions are provided, which clarify terms like aggregate deposits and approved securities, essential for understanding the guidelines. Moving to Chapter 2, where the focus is on cash reserve ratio or CRR. CRR is the percentage of total net demand and time liabilities, NDTL, that a bank must hold as a cash reserve with the RBI. This section also covers how the CRR is calculated for UCBs, including daily and fortnightly maintenance of minimum required reserves. Banks that fail to meet these requirements will face penalties, and the RBI has outlined the specific rates of penal interest for shortfalls. Next, let's discuss the statutory liquidity ratio or SLR. This is the percentage of a bank's total demand and time liabilities that must be maintained in the form of liquid assets such as cash, gold, or unencumbered government securities. UCBs are required to hold these assets as per RBI guidelines, and this section details which securities qualify as eligible assets and the procedure for their valuation. Chapter 4 explains the method for computing the SLR for UCBs. This includes the classification of liabilities and assets, as well as the calculation of net demand and time liabilities. It also details the exemptions that UCBs may be eligible for under specific conditions. The chapter concludes with reporting requirements, ensuring that all SLR obligations are properly documented and submitted to the RBI. In Chapter 5, we cover the reporting requirements for UCBs. Banks must submit fortnightly returns on their CRR and SLR positions using Forms B and I, respectively. These forms need to be submitted to the RBI within 7 days after the reporting date. Additionally, banks are required to maintain detailed records of daily positions with certification from statutory auditors to ensure accuracy. Chapter 6 addresses penalties for failure to maintain the prescribed CRR and SLR. UCBs are liable to pay penal interest at rates specified by the RBI in case of non-compliance. If defaults persist, the RBI may impose further measures, such as restricting deposits or even considering the cancellation of licenses in extreme cases. Finally, Chapter 7 clarifies that the new directions repeal earlier guidelines related to CRR and SLR for UCBs. However, actions taken under the previous directions will continue to be governed by them, ensuring a smooth transition. As we conclude, it's crucial for UCBs to stay compliant with these new guidelines to avoid penalties and ensure operational efficiency. In conclusion, these RBI directions set the standard for maintaining liquidity and stability in urban cooperative banks. By following these guidelines, UCBs not only stay compliant but also contribute to the broader financial stability of the country. Thank you for listening, and remember to keep track of these important updates from the Reserve Bank of India. Moonses and Management Consultants LLP, a trusted partner for SEZ and IFSC excellence. A pioneer in establishing SEZ and IFSC units within GIFT City and India, delivering end-to-end. IFSC set up operational support and handling complaints risk management renowned for deep expertise in regulatory approvals, capital markets, fund management, insurance, finance company, foreign university BATF, and ancillary regulations. A&D FinTech, expertise in customs clearance for aircraft and ship procurement, leasing, GST, DSPF if CSCA comprehensive support covering registration, reporting, and regulatory transitions, ensuring ring fencing, transparency, and global compliance standards. Join our network, scan the QR codes below to stay connected with us.